let me know. Are you drinking? How are we starting this off? Is this what we doing?
I gotta put this in the bloopers too. I gotta put this in the bloopers for sure. Yeah, I have something I can drink real quick. Hold on a second.
I mean, but if that wasn't your vibe, I can be totally professional too.
It's definitely vibe. That's the leftover muscadet that I gotta finish off tonight, anyways. That's definitely vibe. Yeah, I need some of that rosés for sure. I'm gonna have to order me some. You got the official like bucket. That ain't no little glass. It's a bucket.
This is my Olivia Pope glass, okay? This fixes all the problems.
Hey, I need that right now for sure. Welcome to How's Your Wine? This is episode 3, and I'm here with Trayshia Rogers. She is the founder of 619 Black. Ooh, okay, I see you. Go ahead and tell the viewers and listeners more about yourself.
More about myself. So we're going to jump right in. So I'm from Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland. Grew up in Baltimore, went to school in Anne Arundel County, Glen Burnie area. Listen, I am 36 now. So I now am a transplant in New York and New Jersey. I currently work in New York as a 8th grade teacher. So I have the summers off, which speaks to me not being productive today. So a little bit about myself, more to how I got started or just like in general?
Just in general.
Just in general? Okay.
Mhm.
So for anybody who knows me, they usually, the first word that comes to mind is like crazy. She's crazy outgoing, right? And so
Yeah.
I would say that I have a youthfulness, very outgoing. I'm willing to do anything. I think more recently in my latter years, I decided, whatever I wanted to do, anything that was asked of me, I'm just going to try it at least once. And that's kind of been my attitude towards things. Just taking on new things, just being open to whatever comes my way. What do I love? Of course, I super spiritual, definitely have a strong background. I'm a God-fearing woman.
Yeah.
Very family oriented, and like I said, I am a teacher, so it speaks to kind of like the way in which my personality works. First and foremost, I'm super organized, almost OCD organized, and that's like that pillow right there. I haven't wanted to turn around yet, but I really want to get that pillow. It's like
Go ahead and fix it right now if you need to. Yeah, it's gonna bother you the whole episode, so we don't want that to.
Been low key bothering me. But yeah, that's in a nutshell who I am. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm very transparent. You know how they say on the gram, like that's not your real life. No, I am a damn fool everywhere I go.
I feel
Make
that. That's
sure
awesome.
I act the hell up. Because you only get one life, so I'm trying to live mine.
Preach on that. So for you, like, talk to us about 619, and then we can obviously dive into more about your brand.
Okay. So I guess kind of like the origin story. How did we get started? So growing up, my grandma was very similar, very outgoing, very useful. She was the life of the party. She started a wine club, and that was like every Friday coming home from school, right? That was what I look forward to when I got to her house. And so by the time I got old enough to drink, you're talking about 3 generations to 4 generations in one room. And so it became something that was really small, became something that was a really like well put together, thought out. I mean, you have women doing bake-offs, right? And we would enjoy it over a glass of wine. And so it was kind of those experiences that I wanted to replicate, to pay homage to like my grandmother and my mother. And that's kind of the story. The pandemic happened, and I was like, you know what? I need something to do. I was being a little productive back then, and it's something that I always wanted to do. So I was just like, let me start looking into this. And so thus we are here. And that's how I kind of got started.
That's what's up. So looking at your website, I need to check her website out. It's amazing. If you haven't already, go to her Instagram page. I think it's at 619_black.
Yes.
And then go to her website and check that out. But she talks about her story and like how Juneteenth
Yeah.
impacted, the brand history.
Yeah.
Um, talk about more about like the connection that you had with the wine club, knowing how COVID changed a lot of things where people couldn't really meet in person.
Right. So what we started to do was it was a good way. I mean, COVID was not a great thing for
Right.
anyone, but in certain ways, it kind of pulled my family and my friends together closer. Like we were states apart, and so we would start meeting weekly, right? And so it became bigger and bigger, and so this kind of got the ball rolling. And the stories that we would share, it would either be tears or like, friends announcing that they're getting married or having a baby all on Zoom, right? And so while my friend could not drink, it was an opportunity for us to share these stories
Right.
over wine and good food. And so I guess that is the connection, like going back to how it all began for women and how they shared their experiences. And so as I'm starting to do research, this was back in when the pandemic first started. As I'm starting to do research, I'm like, one of the number one consumers of wine, guess what? Hello?
Yeah.
Is us,
Hmm.
right? So I was like, what a way to like jump into the game and give something back to the women who have invested in me, right? And so that's kind of how it comes full circle.
That's amazing. Just to see, like, again, COVID was such a negative
Yeah.
part of our history, but the
Still
growth that
is.
comes from it.
Yeah, it still is. Absolutely.
And yeah, it still is. And so to kind of piggyback off starting 619 Black and your current role as a teacher, like how do you use your skill set as in the classroom to help brand your brand?
Oh, okay. So I had no idea what I was doing. I have no like when I tell you, I didn't know how to start, where to begin. Like business was so foreign to me. Like I was taught go to school so you can work, so you can work for the
Mhm.
man and all this other
Tell them.
stuff, right? And so you hear stories of like entrepreneurship and um how it all tied together. Like I'm super organized, super like resourceful. So it was just about bringing those things together. Research was a big part of who I was as a student and a teacher, constantly looking for new ways to be innovative in the classroom. And so kind of taking some of those skills over to how am I going to get this business started? And also having an art background. So I was very determined. I was like, I'm not taking out any loans. Again, not knowing anything about business, but it was kind of like, if I'm gonna jump out on faith, let me see what I can do. And so, like, I started selling art. I started doing all types of resin art, and people like invested in it. So I was like, I'm gonna use every cent of this to put back into my wine. And
Really?
I did it. And I did it in what I started in April, and then by June, I had my website up and running. I had my first cheese board or charcuterie board collection
Yeah.
ready to go to launch my wine accessories. And my wine accessories ultimately paid for my wine.
See, I love that. That's so heartwarming to see like the hustler's ambition because
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, we do a lot of things and we try to hustle and put ourselves out there and be vulnerable like that. Um, and it's so hard to get down on yourself. And when you fail, you kind of put things to the side. But I guess talk about how you overcame any challenges along the way for you, like you're selling art, you're teaching, finding that purpose. Like what were some of the hurdles that you had to face and how did you respond to those hurdles?
Um, I think again, going back to the fact of like not knowing what the next step is going to be, right? And not knowing how to go to the next step. I think that's the biggest. And it wasn't so much in the beginning, like you get that first wave of people who are super supportive, your friends and your family. But then you start to jump into like a whole new world, like the social media game. And so um I think that right now is kind of like my biggest struggle because it's like I launched the actual wine in January. And so sales have been really, really high. Like one day I sold maybe 55 bottles, and like another day I'll sell one. So it's kind of like it moves just like that. And so um, I just completed my first year. And so now I'm looking at, okay, what is the next step? And not knowing where to go. And I think that when you break out into the wine industry, there are so many people who are like, this is really difficult. If you don't have X, Y, and Z, if you don't have the resources to do this, like it can be disheartening and super discouraging. So it's kind of just like, just keep pushing, right? Like today may not be a good day, but tomorrow will be. And so I'll tell you, it has been um, super amazing. And I surprise myself every day when I come up with new ideas on how I'm going to either market myself or what I'm going to do for my next product until I can get my second collection out for my wine, which I'm going to just throw in there real quick.
Yeah, go
Red
ahead.
wine, red wine coming soon.
Yeah, y'all go ahead. Y'all pay attention to that. See, stay on the lookout for it. If you don't know already, you primarily sell and you market yourself as a neighborhood rosé boss. I don't know what words you want to use today, but
Yeah.
neighborhood rosé. What made you kind of start off on rosé and why?
Oh, because I love rose.
Ooh,
And I think that like it kind of speaks to my personality, right? Like rose is kind of a new thing that I got into, and it's just like it's so much fun, right? It's so refreshing. And I think that it's kind of like although I drink it all throughout the year, when I think about seasons, right? The
mhm.
fun, the get together, what brings you together? Like I can enjoy a red wine by myself on the couch with a movie, right? But rose, that to me is like brunch with the girls. That is like let's a random hike in the park, or well, you don't usually
Yeah, it
have
might not be a good idea. Like,
right.
yeah.
But like it's shared with other people. And so I wanted to capture that. I wanted to
Mhm.
start off there. And so that's where I started. And again,
Yo,
going back to I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So it was like eeny, meeny, miny,
yeah,
mo, you up.
that's real. So I also noticed on your website, and I was trying to browse what you had available. You had these things called the Mommylicious bites. So I'm a big sweets guy.
Um,
And so I was like, man, she's sold out of these joints. Explain like what the process was behind Mommylicious, and will we expect any more anytime soon?
Absolutely. So Mommylicious was a second rendition of my Bay Bites. And so what I have been doing for the last year up until the wine was launched, every 3 months or so, I was coming out with a new collection. And so I had tried like the gummies. I had did that for a little while, and then the infused lollipops, which are sold out. They sold out last week.
Those
Um,
are the ones with the henny in it or no
no,
henny?
so like those are the Mommylicious bites. And so what
Okay.
happened on for Valentine's Day, I did the Bay Bites. And like when I tell you, people were like, we need these. And then I had people placing orders after I had closed out. I had brought them back and I was like, okay, maybe this is a seasonal thing that I could do. Um, I worked with a baker in New Jersey, another Black woman who was like, I got this dope recipe. I think it would be great. So we did this collabo. And so it's been it's been great. I mean, like, listen, I can't have too many of those in my house.
Yeah. When I see on your website any more little snacks, I'm jumping on. Like, gotta grab those.
Well,
So the
this is
Bay Bites, those
the,
were like Valentine's Day specific, or
they were Valentine's Day, and then I brought them back for Mother's Day.
Mother's Day?
Um, but it was ultimately the same recipe. We just repackaged it and repurposed it.
Okay, I need to jump on that ASAP. Y'all need to jump on that ASAP too. All right. Um, I guess for the listeners and the viewers here, um, also talk about why wine is so important to you. You mentioned your family and the connection that you have from generation to generation, but for maybe people who aren't used to like having those wine clubs or having sessions with other people, like explain to us why like that's so critical for you.
Again, just to reiterate, going back to how it brings us together, like the thread, like getting together and sharing those stories. I think that one of the things that I learned, specifically about my grandmother and my mother, it
Mhm.
wasn't until they were around their friends, and it wasn't until they got that extra courage, right? Like that extra courage juice to be who they wanted to be. Like it didn't matter in that moment that they were my grandmother, but like that's how I found out my grandma was wild as hell. It was over, it was at those wine clubs. And I guess like for the first couple of years, just kind of being on the outside looking in,
Mhm.
how it just, I mean, in the middle of them drinking, how they would just get up and start dancing and how they would reminisce. And so I know it's not necessarily about the wine, but I also feel like it was a common thread for the Friday nights, right? It was the time where everybody took off whatever hat they were wearing for that
Right.
day or that week or that month, and they were just themselves. And if that meant they want, and then there were times like I would walk in and they would be boo-hooing, right? Like
Right. It's
it
that
did all
emotional
of,
driven
yeah,
energy.
it did all of that. And so I don't know if it was the wine that made them comfortable. I don't know if it was the presence. I don't know if it was all of those components, but it was like, how do I recreate those moments for myself? And how do I create those moments for everyone else? Like every time somebody buys my bottle and is shared with someone else, like I get to be a part of that experience. And so
Yeah.
that's the value of it.
And I mean, that's very telling because when you talk about community and you talk about just being able to cherish these moments, because you never know like who and when like our time is up. And so being able to again connect and recollect these memories, that's pretty dope. I love hearing that. And
Yeah.
for you, like what are you doing now to establish that community, whether it's online or even with the homies? What are you doing
What am I doing? Oh, I'm out. I'm outside every
in the streets?
every opportunity that I get.
Yeah.
I think that I'm the only one of my friend group and like close cousins that don't have family, so it gives me an opportunity to every time they're having some type of event to show up and show out.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm doing. Like every time I'm outside, every time this actually gives me a reason to start talking to random people. Like I'm walking through the park and like there are a group of people in the park. And again, if they're sitting down drinking wine, I'm sliding on over there and I'm
Easily.
going to talk to them. Right. And so it just gives me, again, goes back to the idea of being outgoing. Like there would have never been a time where I would have randomly walked up to women and just talked to them, or a group of people and just started talking to them. It's the same thing with business owners. Like when I find out somebody is a business owner or they have an idea, like here I am. Oh, give me your number. We'll talk. I was down at Brooklyn Circus one day getting a jacket, and there was a guy there who was selling his bourbon whiskey, another
Mhm.
opportunity. And so
Yep.
here's another person. And same thing with a woman in Baltimore. Like I would have never talked to these people. She also owns a wine. So now like we talk. And so those are the things that like, that kind of transcend whatever is going on at this moment, but that creates that thread, that community. And then it opens up to bigger opportunities.
That's dope. And you just moved to New York, or how long have you been in that area?
How long have I been here? I would say since 2014. I moved to Brooklyn, and then I left in like 2020, came to Jersey. So I've been
Jersey.
2 years. Yeah.
So one thing I've noticed is my first two guests were both from DC or like the Virginia area. Baltimore is close by, it's in Maryland. I
DMV
feel
area.
like a lot of that north kind of east area of the United States, for especially, Black and African Americans, is really growing in that wine space.
Mhm.
Talk to us about maybe those like me from Texas that aren't familiar with that area and how important that culture is for the wine industry.
There are some things that so here's what I'll say. I am not, and I want to put this out there. I am not a wine professional in any way in terms of like a sommelier, right? So
Mhm.
I know one of the other people that you had on your podcast. he is also a sommelier. And so I don't know if that is something that you do, but like I don't know everything about wine. That was another thing, like
Right.
jumping into this industry, like I didn't go to school for this. It's like, when I taste wine, is it good?
Exactly. That's the
and,
thing I
and it could
respect
be
so much
whatever.
about you opening up about.
Yeah. And so like I want to put that out there because like I don't know a lot about the industry. It's about what I read and who I come in contact with. But I do know like at one time California was a thing, but now it is branching all out into different regions. And so I'm actually looking at a vineyard that is located on this side of the state. So I really can't tell you the why, but I think that it is these smaller vineyards are popping up because this is becoming a bigger thing. And then when you start to diversify an industry that's been so inclusive, um, I think that what happens is you get a little bit of more, you get a little bit more, right? Like it's not just in one area, it's not concentrated anymore. It is more diversified. That also means regions now. Now you're talking about different things and what people can bring. And so that's what I would say is like the important thing, right? Like that's all I got. I honestly don't know. I don't know what it is, but that's what I would guess.
I really love that answer because, I'm not a sommelier or, I'm working to get a certification, but not the SOM certification. And so, especially for me, like I just grew up being like trying to be a perfectionist and trying to be a people pleaser, like trying to do everything right. But it's more important to necessarily understand and have those conversations. And especially with you being a teacher, like you have to really foster and help others grow. And I feel like with wine, you're able to do that with your brand as well. So that's big respect for you and what you're doing, and just being able to share that you're not the som, but you're someone that cares about their brand and cares about other people. So that's amazing.
Well, now that you jumped into that little tidbit, what started you? I want to know more about you. How'd you
I
get here?
appreciate it. Yeah. So, I'd always been someone that loved a social connection, right? Like I would go out and, happy hours, you go have a drink with a friend or homies or classmates or whatever. And then with COVID, that halted everything. You weren't able to have those happy hours, those social connections that we would have out in public. So I started doing like a little wine Wednesday on the gram on my stories, and that was one way I was able to connect with people over social media. And
Mhm.
it just kind of kept evolving to where now I created a separate account and really just want to be able to evolve in wine and connect with more people outside of just my social network.
Mhm. Okay.
So we'll see. I'm hoping I can connect with you and everybody out on that East Coast. Because again, y'all are really doing things differently. And I see like the content you're putting out there is really engaging with other people who are looking at your brands and looking at just the wine industry in general. So I really love y'all. And again, appreciate y'all for even jumping on my show and just having those easy conversations.
Yeah, most definitely.
Before we go, I know you got a couple, again, products that you mentioned. Is there anything else that you want to let the people know, like what's popping, what's cooking? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years with 619 Black? Like, what's up with you?
Well, short term, I do have something that I'm launching in August. Kind of like it's a summer fling
Okay.
situation. So there are a few summer boxes coming your way. It is like the perfect box for a picnic or whatever the case may be. Um, but I also have these. I've partnered with another somebody in VA. She customized these tumblers for me, so they will be on the site soon. Um, that's short term. Also have some freezy pops coming your way.
Freezy Pops.
Yes.
Okay, now we talking. I'm trying to be out.
Uh,
I'm out there.
but long term, I mean, well, we're talking about into next year. I'm looking at my second collection, which will be a red. And then like the hope is so quick story. The other day my friend had sent me a video on Instagram, and there it was of this girl who was in Texas,
Mhm.
and it was really random, had nothing to do with anything, but I was like, that's weird. Do you know this girl? She was like, no, I just follow her on TikTok. I was like, she's one of my customers. Like, I actually talked to her. Like,
Yo,
it's a
see, it's a
returning
small world.
customer. And so it when I think about my business growing, I want that. Like I want a piece of, hey, I know this person, or this person frequents my, my store, or whatever the case may be. Like we've had a conversational want. I want it to evolve into something like that. And so if I can get there, then I feel like, I made it.
Well, we're gonna help you make it. The swine community is growing, and we definitely want to see you evolve and continue to sell out bottles. Your red, what kind of red is it? What
Oh,
varietal?
now you're doing too much. I can't tell you that.
All right, I'm gonna be patient. I'll wait. I'll wait.
Yes.
But until then, y'all check out her website. It's 619black.com. Log in, subscribe, check out the great rosé she has. I'm definitely gonna have to cop me a bottle for sure. The Bay Bites, I'm gonna wait until she says A-OK, and I'm jumping on the Bay Bites ASAP. So make sure y'all subscribe, follow her on IG, and just continue to support this industry. We're growing, and we love to see um, Black women and all women continue to thrive. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.